Amazing. Yeah, amazing snowstorms. So, good afternoon. My name is Tracy Pepe. I am the founder of an interesting company called Smelling Pink. Um, my journey started years ago, 35 years ago. I'm a trained perfumer. I had a company a few years ago prior to COVID where we created some pretty unique scents and we scented spaces mainly for cognitive behavior. And so I, after COVID, and I'll get a little bit into my personal background, how I got here. I use science-based research. I use focus, and we have created a program over the last 3 years where we put scent or use scent, not aromatherapy. This is a perfumer stick, which is a specific type of paper. It's a blotter paper. One drop goes very far, and we focus on olfaction. And it is a raw material that I work with. I use a lot of naturals. This is some of my orchestra. I have many, but I have condensed and created a program that many long-term care homes, seniors, daycare facilities work with, and I'll get into why and how I got there. So let me get my presentation up. If you have a cup of coffee, herbal tea, anything nice, hot, smelly, it's a great time to sit back and smell for sure. Let me just share my screen and let's start. Perfect. Scent therapy. So these are fragrant raw materials. Some are natural, some are not. It depends on the raw materials and what we use them for. Many of them are known as essential oils, plant extracts, and they're concentrated. So we don't use alcohols, we don't use solvents. And how this kind of came about is I had my business, and during COVID, one of the number one things that happened is you lost your sense of smell. And it panicked me. It actually caused me to really get concerned because as a perfumer, I'm like a chef. I translate and am creative through the process of utilizing scent and working with scent. Many people are visual, or some people are audio, some are tactile. My focus is very much through olfactive and through taste. And so during COVID, I wrote a book because part of scent, when you lose your sense of smell, you can gain it back, you can improve it when you start to use it in a training method. So very similar to chefs. Chefs don't have very good palates to start with, or dull. And when you become a chef, you enhance your palate. Well, you do as a perfumer as well. And as you work with more raw materials and expand raw materials, you smell nuances and differences. And similar to a sommelier, smell is developed. There's science behind it, of course, but it is something that requires practice. And when I saw people were losing their sense of smell, it made me nervous because when you lose your sense of smell, you have a 78% increase of depression because your sense of smell is deeply connected to your limbic system and your emotional connection to how you feel. So if you think about that, if you had a baby and you washed the baby's hair and then you smelt the baby, there's a distinct odor with that baby. Now, if that baby was smelling for her mother or his mother, their sense of smell is very acute and they know the aroma. It's very instinctual. As we get older, we often don't rely on it as much. We use visual cues. So we see a cup of coffee, and so we know what coffee should taste like, smell like. But when you start to really focus on what sense of smell does, it's a very, very powerful, underused tool. And I am on a mission to address isolation in this world and in this country, specifically among seniors, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, and the individuals that I know who are really struggling right now. And so olfaction is kind of the whole purpose of what we're doing. And this is a really defining difference where many, many institutions, homes, facilities, educational communities, they just don't talk about it. They actually have outdated scent-free policies. I like to start with a cup of tea whenever we do presentations, because tea is a really great example. You can take a tea bag from David's, smell the various different teas, see if you can identify them. They're usually quite unique. You can make the cup of tea. Now you're tasting and you're seeing if you can taste and smell. It's instead of having a wine night, you could do a tea night as a connoisseur activity. It's quite fascinating, but what you'll determine and what you'll find is what we discovered when we started to work with the seniors population, that is there's a very high percentage of individuals who just can't smell. And that is creating more and more problems that are being overlooked. And my journey really began years ago, developing scent in particular for hospitality brands, big brands, on how scent manipulates consumers to buy more, to do more, to spend more, to experience more. And I'm not a traditional perfumer per se, where I create eau de toilettes or colognes or things along that line. But similar to those types of perfumers, what my job was for so many years was to create signature scents for corporations to have the scent put into their spaces. And we used HVAC, we used a variety of different tools to do that. And it was a branding exercise per se, and it was a connection to the consumer. And so with Samsung, for example, they had experience stores across Canada, and we created a signature scent that was targeted towards millennials, and it was a new phone that they were launching. And all the stores had the signature scent, and the idea was to stay around longer, play with the phone, engage in the store, and come to the store for the experience to really get the tactile experience of the phone. Loblaws brands, I had a 2-year contract with them, and my whole objective with Loblaws brands was to educate and research and to collect data, to observe and to watch consumers utilizing scent and how scent impacts you when you buy and when you go grocery shopping. Thus, fast forward years later, and there is open patisseries and coffee shops and bakeries and pizza places in many grocery stores, because the data really proves why scent is so important, and it is a consumer component to our experience. Hotels creating the experience of what is a home when you're away from home and how does it make you feel. And so while I was doing this and I was running through my corporate world, and many of my clients were in the US as well, I was running a dual life as a mother with a son on the spectrum. He's 32 now, but I also have an older sister. This is my sister, Linda, and she's schizophrenic bipolar. And I have always been surrounded in my family with individuals of very high level IQs, very different learning styles, emotionally and mentally some challenges. And scent has always been the story of, I guess for me, and why I continued into this. When we were kids, Linda and I in particular would go into our cupboards in the kitchen when we were home. She's my older sister of 9 years, and I often took care of her and on many ways, even though I was much younger. And so the games we used to play really had a lot to do with sensorial.
Let's speak to somebody in appliances.
And we would go into, for example, the kitchen, and we would take
Well, I have a couple more questions.
anchovies and we would add peanut butter, and we would put all these various different concoctions together, blindfold our eyes, and see if we could smell them. What's really fascinating about all of that is the smell game is a fantastic tool and a fantastic communication tool that many of us overlook. Many of us sit down and have dinner and we don't even smell the food. We're not aware of it. Policies from the 1990s, specifically in the medical industry, have not yet been updated. And there's a lot of research showing that these scent-free policies really are causing more damage to the environment and to the individuals that are there than they are good. And how do you update them to acknowledge sensitivities and fragrance issues, perfume issues, cosmetic issues, aromas, as well as talk about using scent. And this has been my success, and this has been something that we have done very well with. And so we work with Baycrest, for example, the Peel region. We work with a variety of different large and small homes. And we start, if there is a scent-free policy, of let's update it. Let's get that to today, and let's talk about what scents are good, what are not from an employee standpoint, and what you need to be aware of. But not all natural is good for you. And I have come across many situations where people are using scent because they think it is a feel-good experience, or it's aromatherapy, or it's natural, or it's good for you. And they're stimulating the brain of an individual who needs calming, or their translation is not the same as what we are. And so these are the things that it's really critical that we start to understand. How does scent impact and what does it do? So this is what we focus on. Anosmia is the clinical term for individuals who do not have a sense of smell or can smell. 78.4% of all of the individuals currently right now, our data in long-term care, have poor to no sense of smell. That is coast to coast. And our goal is to improve the sense of smell with a minimal 15-minute session of scent therapy. Ideally 3 times a week. If it could be every day, that would be fantastic. But I don't know if you can put that into context, that the people in your homes, they can't smell anything or have a very poor distinction between smell. So what does that mean? That means there's a lot of surface problems that are being created that can be addressed through the process of getting their sense of smell heightened and back through olfaction. And some of those problems can be appetite issues. For example, many times they can't smell the food that they eat, therefore they're not interested in eating. Their digestive system isn't turned on. There's a physiological connection when you smell, and you smell things that are food driven. Many times the kitchens in the long-term care homes and in the seniors' homes are not even on the same floor. And so part of our program is in the group. In the 4th module, for example, we have lots of group activities. We talk about, some people have crock pots, but how do you use them? And what natural, inexpensive raw materials can you get from a grocery store to put the crock pot in the kitchen or in the dining room area to make it smell like an appetite, to make it smell like home, to help stimulate interest in food. Anxiety. We know the correlation with loss of smell, depression, and anxiety is quite high. It's actually more surprising to a lot of people that when you have lost your sense of smell, it's a response that does heighten your anxiety. Isolation and sadness we have seen increased, relating just because there is no emotional connection. The cognition issue alone, 15 minutes of scent therapy is equal to playing an hour's worth of chess. So the stimulation of the brain is a fantastic tool, and we all know with good brain health, stimulating your brain is something that's really important. Sleep issues. So by not being able to smell, it does have an impact on the regulatory, the way the body regulates because of the hormones and how people sleep. And family integration. We see with individuals adding the scent therapy, it helps family create new experiences, new memories, positive experiences, while working with the tool that they can participate. A child with a grandmother, a daughter, or a son, an individual that may have early stages of Parkinson's, for example, or Alzheimer's or dementia. What do you talk about? The weather's really bad. After a period of time, well, this is an activity that the family members can participate in. Costs very little, 6 cents an application, to be honest. It is easily, it doesn't have to be something that individuals have to oversee. It's safe. And it's actually quite interesting as we are collecting the data on the scent and what we're seeing the scent do. My company is learning quite a bit about how scent is advancing with these various issues. And so we share best practices and so forth, and that's part of our program. So our whole objective and goals, or mine is with my teams and the companies we work, is we educate. We are educators. We have a nonprofit. Smelling Pink is a nonprofit organization. We show best practice by working with our companies and our homes, and we do a lot of team building with webinars and events. We have a newsletter, and we share success stories because it is really important. And an example of that, for example, is one of my homes. We had 11 homes working together on a program they wanted to initiate, how to get individuals more involved in physical activity, specifically chair yoga. And so we used mandarin oil. And mandarin is a fun scent. It is a childlike smell. It's a stimulant, but it's really pleasant. And male, female, it's an interesting scent. But it was used as a cognitive tool to train individuals, because the PSW would pass around the scent stick prior to 15 minutes before going to do a yoga class. And then they had a diffuser where in the room they had mandarin going. And what they were doing is they were basically teaching the seniors that when you smelt this at this particular time, that means we were going to have an activity. And the activity was chair yoga, and the participation rate went, like, it increased by 93%. And maintains. Like, they love this. This is something that they get excited about. They know it's mandarin, and the smell is fun. It opens up conversation. They speak a little bit before they do their chair yoga. They participate in their yoga or their activity, and it is more of a community experience, all with using scent therapy. So we took this result, we showed some videos, we took some it was fun, and we passed it along to a lot of the other homes as a success story. And we have many, 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 many ones we do, but that's part of our team building. Right now, when we're doing scent therapy sessions, we're seeing success rates, and this is isolated to certain projects that we do. 48% are just happy to participate in scent therapy. 44% feel really calm, trusted, and 24% just feel the comfort of doing scent therapy by themselves or in a group setting. This is just one metrics that we did recently with another group of homes, working on a project. I work with various different teams, and someone came back to me and told me that there are four major issues that they were facing is palliative care, bathing, sleep, and appetite. And could I really target these practices? And let's look at some data. Let's see what's working. Let's see what's not. Let's really add. We incorporated things like their music therapy. We incorporated tactile components. We really took the tools that were already existent, put all the pieces together, and really enhanced the programs. It's also very exciting for the staff because the staff now gets to participate in a different way, doing similar tasks like chair yoga, but adding something really interesting and fun and seeing successes with something that normally was ignored. It also helps staff because these happy smells are going to translate happy smells for your staff too. So right now we're in a session. Obviously, there's many breakouts, and many places have, they're in lockdown for various different illnesses or issues, and it just creates more further isolation in some situations. And so this is a really great tool to pull it out, and it adds an emotional connection to this other than just an activity per se. So our program is basically a web-based training program. I teach over the internet. It takes approximately 6 months to learn the entire program. Over here in the corner is a kit. Every kit comes with a program, and you have enough material for approximately 20 beds. Generally speaking. And we all know when we do this, there's usually 20 people right off the bat that we know that we want to try this on because we think they're the right personality and individual that may succeed with this. You can have as many staff as you want from your home, one particular address. And we videotape this so that you have a library of your training. We provide you manuals, 4 of them in total. And those manuals are teaching books because I have identified that individuals train best with online training when there's an engagement tool. So we provide that. And then you have the kit where you have a physical component. We talk a little bit about the correlation between scent and taste. Each of the 4 training modules are broken down to deal with 20 scents in particular. The 20 scents are chosen specifically because they're really focused on the research of what we know in the industry. The brain has 2 impacts when it deals with scent. It either is stimulating or it's calming, truthfully. We're not talking about any application whatsoever on the skin. This is not aromatherapy. We're not talking about cures. We're not talking about plant-based homeopathic process. None of that is existing. What we're working with is rosemary oil, for example, has been studied quite significantly on stimulation and the oxygenation in the brain when it comes to the synapses, and it stimulates areas of the brain, specifically in Parkinson's disease individuals who have lost their sense of smell. When that occurs and it stimulates the brain, the individual can smell the overwhelming excitement that we see is fascinating. Something has happened. I can't tell you clinically what is going on in their brain, but I know because they can smell, there's an awareness, there's a surge of emotion, but there's also a surge of hormones. And so these are the things that we're focused on. We try to implement these programs specifically in memory care because understanding and identifying the smells that individuals really find comfort to prior to becoming nonverbal or later stages of Alzheimer's is another tool in the toolbox as a communication for emotion-based centered care. And so this is a really important part of this, is understanding what those scents are. So we document the scent. We don't share patient information, obviously, but for the home, they can have that information. And so we have learned over, for example, that we've had some individuals who really resonate and calm down specifically with certain scents. And when they are agitated, or if they have to be transported in an ambulance, this recently happened to my sister, who was in a terrible car accident, and she was in a rehabilitation, and we did the scent therapy there. But when she would go out to the hospital to get x-rays and have to be transported, she would have her little scent sticks with her. And she knows enough to do deep breathing and to relax, because part of that trauma of her accident was related to a car accident. And so these were the things to help her with the anxiety, to help her feel better about the experience. And this is less than a penny. I think it's actually like it takes 20 of them to create a scent. Like, it's very inexpensive, the process. We see that the substitution in the recreational programs, utilizing scent instead of food, your rec costs go down drastically, and you are really targeted with that. And we focus that specifically in the 4th module, where we talk about how do you do more group activities and what do they already look like. I then actually visit your home, and we, depending on where you are, or we do a one-on-one session, or I look at your activity calendar, and then I help you integrate even more so. So the training is quite extensive. It is a very one-on-one. We teach a one-on-one session, 15 minutes with an individual. What does that look like? How do you create a treatment program? Using 3 or 4 different smells with an individual. This gentleman in particular, he leaves with the sense. He doesn't, he participates. He was not one to join activities, but he really likes this. He is nonverbal. He's not a big communicator. And this is something that he very much can hold. You can see in his hands, they're paper. He has arthritis in one hand, but these are things that are very comfortable. The web-based training, as I said, is 4 75-minute training sessions for your staff, all levels of staff, nurses, PSWs, recreational therapists, directors. We've had dietitians on this class. We have all kinds of people. And then we offer how to do group sessions, and how, because there's an advantage of a group session using scent, and what does a group activity look like. So these are the various approaches. We don't expect you to go out and buy more materials. Actually, we use the things that you have in your home, and you'd be surprised. All the things that I've learned by working with the long-term care homes, how to make them better. I've mastered scented gardens for people. Even to the point of just buying the right plant or buying the right seeds, knowing that certain plants are going to create an aroma, and then taking those plants that you pot or put outside, and then what the harvest looks like, and all the activities from something that is just so much more than gardening. So these are kind of the activities that we show and we highlight. The program is $5,400 per home. We have, the date is incorrect on this, but we have an executive pricing discount of 5 to 15%, depending on how many homes, because I am not working with organizations like SGP. I'm working direct. And we offer 20% off our homes for materials and free shipping of supplies if they need that. And that's something that we have done. Now, the $5,400 is interesting because we have grants all across this country, and I have a list. But here in Ontario, we have two grants in particular. The one grant we have is a resident wellness grant, and that particular grant, you who or the home would get that $5,400 back. It's part of the training programs, but we see this coast to coast to coast. It's just understanding what each province calls it. So we're a nonprofit organization. We're by Social Canada. We work with the Ontario Long-Term Care Association, Advantage Ontario, as well as the Ontario Beekeepers Association, and we just joined the Manitoba, which is a new logo I need to put up, Manitoba Association. Our work is obviously quite different, quite unique. If you have any particular questions or you're interested in a webinar on a scent-free policy or a webinar for a wellness team building experience, these are things that I can do. But if you have any questions, I am open to accepting your questions at all. But otherwise, I would really like to say thank you very much. And I really appreciate this opportunity to share my work with you. And I hope you found it interesting. Do you have any questions? We've had a few people scoot off. No?
Hi, Tracy. No, it was really informative, so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Um, yeah, it was really good to know because yeah, we do have a scent-free policy, and I myself is involved in a program that deals with aromatherapy with the residents, and um, being involved in that, I do understand that some scents can be a little tricky with the residents, and some can be more stimulative, or some could be more calming. But to have a combination with something else, which is not necessarily essential oil, is also interesting. So I'm kind of open to that. I will have to run it by my team here just to kind of
Sure.
see if that would be something that the home might be interested in. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the grants. I know you mentioned the resident
Sure.
wellness grant.
Sure.
Um, and so would that be something that we will apply once we have stuff ordered from you?
Well, it covers the training, and
Mm-hmm.
that grant is available to all homes until the end of 2025. And there's
Okay.
quite a bit of money allocated. And one of the things I've learned with the Ontario Wellness Resident Grant, and I can give you the link,
Mm-hmm.
um, that most homes don't even know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I have learned. And so all of the homes that I have worked for who have applied for the training, who have applied for this grant, submitted the invoice, they've been fully refunded. And I guess it's how your system is set up. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to speak to that because I know
Mm-hmm.
certain homes have a different system.
Mm-hmm.
But the grants are available because one of the number one things the specific Ontario government was focused on prior to this election is isolation and wellness. And
Mm-hmm.
so the training components of any kind of training that was available for music programs or wellness therapies or various different types of programs, we
Mm-hmm.
fall into that because we're offering the training to your staff. We're trying to empower your staff on how to do this. So what I can do, I'll just make a note. I have obviously your email address. I can
Mm-hmm.
send you the grant link and where you would find that information.
Sure.
And then I can also send you some material on our program. And
Yes, please.
if you want to follow up with your team
Mm-hmm.
with a scent-free policy
Mm-hmm.
webinar, that's
Mm-hmm.
my pleasure.
Okay.
They all need to be updated, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you.
Honest, yeah, and I really think it would be a good addition because that is definitely something that we struggle with in terms of whether, is it okay around the offices? It is okay around the residents, right? So
Yep,
it's always a area which where we can clarify more. So yeah, definitely, please, if you can send out the info, I can definitely
sure,
run it by them, and then I can have a little bit more clarity in terms of what we would like to introduce.
sure. My pleasure.
Yeah,
My
thank
pleasure.
you.
And thank you very much for attending. I will follow up with two emails, one with
Hmm.
the link,
Okay.
so you can share the link with your team. And then
Hmm.
I will follow up with you with specific information regarding the conversations we had. So thank you
Sounds good.
again. I appreciate your time. And I hope are you in Ontario?
Yes, yes,
And so
within
you've
Toronto.
gotten all the snow we've got.
Yes, lots of it, lots of it.
Yeah, and I heard it's supposed to snow again tonight.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. I haven't checked the weather, but I hope not because
Where in Ontario are you located?
I'm right. So the home is right in Etobicoke.
Okay.
So we are on Kipling and Albion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I live in just on the east end of Brampton, so I'm very close to Woodbridge. So we've
Yeah.
had a lot.
Yeah.
And honestly, if there is more, I have no idea where I'm going to put it. So
Yeah, I know. I know. This has been a winter for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Well, pleasure
Yeah.
to speak with you, and I
Thank
will
you.
follow up with you. And thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks as well. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.